tried to get out, and the time was now.
Yes, and ho, 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 ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another, oh yes, sorry about that.
I couldn't resist, sorry.
No, that was good. See, now she's the one doing punts here. I love it. I'm rubbing off on her in a very bad way. Welcome back to another exciting episode. Yes, it is an HR kind of thing. I will be going to see the HR manager of Sitting Down with Stand-Ups very soon here. And yes, this is another episode of Sitting Down with Stand-Ups. I am your co-host, Justin Sakarica. As always, we have the Bean behind the scene, Daryl Bean, working the cameras, doing his thing back there. To my left is a very lovely Elena Gonzalez. Elena, how you doing?
Great, how are you?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you so much. Sorry about calling you a hoe 3 times.
3 times.
Yes.
Not once, but thrice.
Absolutely. And yes, ho, 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 it is the season. 'Tis the season. We are in the holiday season right now. I am feeling very festive, Elena. Yes.
Happy Honda days to you and yours.
Honda days, yes. Merry Festivus.
Yes.
Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, all that good jazz, all that stuff. Yes, yes. It's weird because it really doesn't feel like Christmas, even though I am in the spirit, you know? Like, it just kind of feels, I don't know.
Yeah, I know that, you know, we record this. Surprise, this is not a live stream. Sorry to... so we're recording this in the Christmas season, and we've mentioned before I'm Justin's neighbor-ish, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna walk over there. It's a lot colder than
Yes.
I thought it would be. Thanks, wind chill. But even while I was walking, I'm like, it doesn't feel December-y. It doesn't,
Yeah.
It's cold, but it's not very snowy, and it's not very...
It feels more February-ish, honestly. Like, it kind of feels like we're in that like, part of winter where you're just ready for it to be over, and unfortunately, that's not the case. We have quite a ways to go.
I know, but we're filling up the time with a lot of parties. I know this weekend especially, we are party. You had one last night.
I did.
2 last night.
Yes. I went over to Bill Bouchard's condo. Very, very wonderful place. Bill, thank you again so much for having me. It was great because there were a lot of other comedians there. I got to see some old faces that I haven't seen in a very long time. Met a lot of comedians who I've seen before on Facebook but never got the chance to meet in person. Sorry to disappoint all of you, because I know that was probably... Yeah, so sorry there, but no, it was a good time. And then you went to one, I believe, as well.
Yeah, went on Friday. Ned Rice, thank you again for your hospitality. And same thing, it's something that I'm reminded of, but it's easy to forget because you go in your circles, in your venues, and you run into the same people, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, there's 50 other new comics that are out there. So it was really nice. And then we've got one this afternoon.
Yes, right down the street. We will not be walking there. It is a little bit too cold, a little bit too far. But yes, at Supernatural, there will be another comedy gathering that we'll be going to, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I had a friend party last night too that was like dress as your favorite Christmas movie character.
Oh, that sounds very cool.
If you were to have been invited to that party, what would you have dressed as?
Wow, I probably would have dressed as Gizmo the Gremlin.
Excellent choice.
Because Gremlins is a Christmas movie. I know there's a whole debate as whether something is or is not a Christmas movie. Gremlins is because Gizmo is a Christmas gift.
Yes.
And it takes place on Christmas. And I love Gizmo.
Yes, and it's one of the saddest moments in movie history that is also the most brushed over when Phoebe Cates is talking about him dying in the chimney, and then they're just like, oh,
yeah, whatever.
All right,
yeah,
next.
Well, and then came the smell. I'm like, holy shit! Like, this is a kid's movie?
Yes.
Oh my god, I remember watching that, and I'm like, this got dark.
Yes.
This got dark. And a little bit of trivia.
Oh, I love trivia.
Do you know... And again, hear me out, okay?
Okay.
Gremlins and the movie E.T. are both based off of an apparent incident that happened back in the 50s in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. Swear to God. Allegedly.
Okay.
Yeah. There was a family that apparently was attacked by these little creatures. They swear up and down it happened, and to this day, not one member of the family has taken any money. They will not do any interviews. They're like, we do not want to be harassed.
Wow.
Yeah, look it up. The Hopkinsville, Kentucky Goblins. I swear to God.
That sounds like a minor league baseball team.
Yeah, and E.T. was going to be a horror movie called Dark Skies, and they were going to base it off that. And then they realized, no, we'll make him an even uglier, hideous little monster that fingers people. I find E.T. terrifying. E.T.'s not cute. If he waddled out of here right now, I'd fucking move. E.T. is scary.
That is a pitch that I don't think would have been purchased. It's a little tiny monster that fingers people.
Exactly. Yeah. But he does.
He does.
He does. Yes.
He definitely does.
He phones home. That's like keyword. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah, look it up. Look it up.
Last night at the party, so I went. Are you familiar with Year Without a Santa Claus?
I am.
Okay, so I went as Heat Miser, and I realized that a lot of the people at the party were not familiar when my friend asked if there was a Christmas version of Chucky. But on the same line as to what is and is not, my friend who asked me this was dressed in a sweater carrying a FedEx box. Mm-hmm. And she was Tom Hanks' character in Castaway.
Yes.
Day one of the crash, because that happened on Christmas,
yes.
And that was her argument.
Was she complaining about her toothache? Did she do the whole ice skate thing and just fling it out?
I think that was a day later, and we joked that for the New Year's party she needs to bring Wilson, so she's just going to carry this on.
Gotcha.
Throughout the year. Yeah.
Gotcha. One more question, because I know that this is a very hot debate. Die Hard, is it a Christmas movie?
So, personally, I don't give a fuck. And that's basically where I fall on it. But according to Bruce Willis, it is not. He has very, very vehemently said that. But I think any movie that takes place in that time frame can go under a Christmas movie, and so I would say Die Hard does fall into that.
I mean, I think I tend to lean more with Bruce. I mean, it takes place around Christmas, but that movie could have happened any other time of the year. You know, I mean, granted, there was a Christmas party, but it could have been a work gathering, or,
right.
Something along those lines. But again, either way, it is a great movie. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, I made this stance that technically Die Hard is a battery.
Yes, it is a battery.
That's my
I cannot think about that movie without my feet hurting when he walks on the glass.
If only somebody had put them in a plastic bag and written a warning on it.
Absolutely, yes! That is amazing. You guys don't even know right now how amazing of a callback that is. One day, the truth will come out. And speaking of coming out, I think it is time...
Wow, the king of the transitions, ladies and gentlemen.
It is time for our guest to come out. She is an absolutely wonderful comedian, and in my opinion, one of the most underrated in the scene. Seriously, not enough people talk about how talented she is. I have worked with her before, and she absolutely killed it at a packed theater with over 200 people. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the shuffleboard the very talented Kate Brindle. Kate, come on in here.
Thank you. Thank you for that nice intro.
It is the truth. I mean, seriously, there are way too many people, like newer comics, who don't know who you are. And I'm like, how do you not know who Kate Brindle is? Like,
well, part of the reason is because she's touring all over the place.
Which is a good thing, yes.
Well, and I live in the middle of nowhere a little bit now.
Because you live out kind of like in the Celine Dexter area, right?
I actually, no, I live farther. I live in Owasso, exactly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of like there in my little bunker.
Yeah, out in the boonies, without weird neighbors, I assume.
I don't even know my neighbors. Like, I think they're so weird that they're just like, don't even want to talk to me. Or we're the weird ones.
Yeah,
don't want to talk
that's it. You are the weird one when they don't come and talk to you. So I wish I had that problem.
Right, you got the opposite.
Surprisingly, I'm the normal one in this neighborhood, which is a very strange thing to think about. Well, but you are always keeping yourself busy. You're always touring, and that is just an amazing thing. Like, at what point in your life did you say, you know what, I really want to make this comedy thing work?
I think so. I started doing comedy. I took a class because it seemed like the most terrifying thing to ever do. And I was like, I'm going to do 5 minutes in an open mic and then I'll be done with it,
Yeah.
And then I got like one laugh, probably actually just one laugh. And I just got hooked and I started going to the open mics. And then I remember thinking, okay, well, maybe I can get paid to do this. And, I got paid like $25 to MC. But to me, that was the best day of my life, And then I was like, I'm just going to keep doing it, I think,
And were you in Owasso at that point, or were you in Civilization?
Yeah, I was in Civilization. Yes, I was in places with indoor plumbing. And,
Okay.
And teeth.
And teeth. Yeah, I was in Ann Arbor
Oh,
when I
okay.
started. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, Kate and I met in a way that I've found brings my strongest comedic friendships. We met in a dark bar, and
That's right.
and Kate came up to me afterwards, and she had a nice thing to say about my joke, and I said, "Okay, we're gonna be best friends now." Like that is really all it takes to win me over. But it is so unique in this instance because that was 4-ish years ago.
Yeah.
And Kate and I don't get a chance to see each other very often. We did have more of a conversation, I promise, than just that. But it's so... I wanted to bring this up and then ask you about it because I find that I have this with other female comics where it is just like such an exciting thing to be like, oh my gosh, it's you!
Yeah.
And I wonder if it is this, power of estrogen and the uniqueness of a female comedian, or if when you're out there, if you are developing similar bonds with other comics too, where you form a quick friendship and then you don't see each other for years and then you see each other again.
I definitely think it is a little bit of both because unfortunately there is still some stigma around female comedians. They're like, oh, you're gonna have women on the show? I'm like, yes, because they're funny. And it's surprising to me how many people will come to my shows and be like, oh my god, the women were actually funny. And I'm like, dude, like what the fuck you think I'm doing? Like I'm not gonna book people who aren't funny. They're very talented. Like you need to get over that fact. Women can be funny. They can be very funny. You right now are one of the more successful comedians, period, in the scene. So obviously, despite having long hair and estrogen, you were doing something right. So,
Well, thank you.
Oh my gosh, please take that as a soundbite.
Yes. It's like there still is that stigma, and I'm like, look, you got to get over that fact. People need to get over that. Women are just as funny as men are.
Yeah.
Point blank.
Yeah.
And but as far as like doing the whole friendship thing as well, like there are some people who I've met like once or twice, and it's like, dude, I feel like I've known them for years.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And it's crazy because even like I might not even see them for like a year or two at a time.
Right.
And you pick right back up where things go in.
Yeah.
Like you and I haven't seen each other for a very long time.
I know, which is weird because when you said that when I first came over, you're like, yeah, we haven't seen each other in a few years. I'm like, I guess we haven't.
Yeah,
But
it
feels
was
like we have.
the theater show.
Yeah.
With the chimpanzee lady.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was like right before the pandemic.
That was,
too,
yeah,
and
because
everything.
Keith actually made a COVID joke. I remember.
Oh, did he really?
There was a guy in the audience coughing, and Keith was like, uh-oh, COVID. And then like 2 weeks later, it's like, hey, everything is going to be shutting down. I'm like,
Yeah.
that joke is not going to age well.
Right.
That
I
joke will
remember-
not age
So
well
you
at all.
did a show with a chimpanzee and then you're wondering why everything got shut down?
Yes.
Is that
Oh my
what
God.
I'm hearing?
COVID
Yeah.
originated.
Yes, exactly. She was the one. She is the source of the outbreak. But there was this lady, and now I wish that she would come to all my shows. But her laugh literally sounded like a chimpanzee screaming.
Oh, that's
That,
adorable. Oh my god.
and she was laughing at everything. And we were in the back cracking
Oh,
up
yeah,
because like
yeah.
every time somebody would tell a joke, she would just It
Oh,
was-
that's fantastic. If
Yeah.
you're out there, please make yourself known.
Yes, and that's on YouTube, by the way, too. So you can go watch that whole theater show and hear her
Nice.
just screeching and yelling.
Yeah.
But that was a great show.
Oh,
I mean,
it was a blast.
yeah. Now, what made you walk out to New Kids on the Block that time? Just a big fan, or?
Ridiculous fan. Like, obsessive, stalk them sort of fan. So, yeah, and I love them, and I love all things boy band. And then I just feel like Hangin' Tough, like, I don't know. It makes me happy. So then it puts me in a good headspace, and I like it.
I'm gonna tap you out there, Justin. I'll take over from here.
You want to chat boy bands?
All right. So yes. Hello to female viewers. New kids. All right. Very very specific questions. Initially, growing up, who was your guy
Joey McIntyre.
from day one
To this day, yeah. How
okay.
about you?
So I'm a flopper. I started on Jordan.
Okay.
And we might fight before the day's over because I switched to Joey. But as an 11-year-old, I believe when I first started, Joey was too young for me.
Yeah,
I was
at 16, he was just too young. But he was kind of, young.
Did you go down the merch bandwagon?
Yes. So I should have brought my purse in, because in my purse, actually, on Friday, I got as a gift a New Kids comic book and a New Kids book from the 80s that I used to have in middle school, and I have them in my purse. So, yeah.
That's fantastic.
Like, my baby shower was New Kids on the Block themed. I have pictures of them in my living room. I have all the merch.
Have you gone on the cruise?
I've been on the cruise. Yeah.
Do you know, and I'm so sorry, sweetheart, if I pronounce your name wrong, but do you know Kiara in Grand Rapids? She's a comic.
No.
Okay.
Has she been on the cruise?
She has been on the cruise 4 times, and she is like an insider with them. So leading up to the cruise, she was doing like Instagram posts like on the New Kids Instagram, and she's a Grand Rapids
Can
comic.
she be my friend? I'm putting out a call right now.
I'm gonna put this together. She wrote a book about the cruise, like the whole thing. Yeah. So we will definitely chat.
Because that's the thing, like, I thought I was, and not to make this all about New Kids, but I thought I was a fan when I went on the cruise, and, when I go to some of these shows, and then you meet these people, you're like, oh, I'm nothing. Like, these people, I've only been on one of the cruises. Some people, it's like every year, and they follow them all around the country, and, I only follow them around the Midwest, so I'm not, too bad. But.
Oh, no, it's so... I won't take over the entire show, but it really is like a connective tissue.
Yeah.
That has been, my first show was in 1989, and so that's what, like 30 years ago or something. Something like
roughly,
that.
yeah.
And it's still to this day, like, I'll go to the mixtape tour and be just as excited. Like,
I know.
Oh my God,
right.
Like,
yeah.
it never goes away.
Yeah, you turn 12 years old again.
Uh-huh.
I scream.
Yep. That's so fun.
Daryl, you want to go?
Justin's like, anyway.
You want to go? Who's your favorite new kid?
So Daryl, you want to go chop some wood and wrestle a bear? Get some stogies and go strip club. Yeah, let's go be men. Boy bands, nothing there.
Follow up. Did you go NSYNC or Backstreet?
Oh, in like who I liked?
In the yeah.
Probably Backstreet first and then NSYNC, but I've seen them both. But New Kids are always number one.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So.
My sister was a big fan of New Kids on the Block, so this is nothing new to me to hear about,
You're familiar.
I'm familiar, yes, and like playing as children, and you're gonna be so-and-so, and I'm like, I'm not gonna be anybody. I'm fucking Leonardo. I got swords. That's what I'm doing.
Were older or younger sister?
She's older than me.
Okay,
and
so it was by violence that she was trying to...
Absolutely,
okay, gotcha.
And she still, she probably doesn't watch this, so yeah. But she's still a big fan. I know she is.
Oh, it like we just
apparently
said, it sticks with you.
It's like a permanent disease. It's like herpes. It doesn't leave.
It does not leave.
Yeah, it's always in your blood, and then it comes back at some point.
Yeah, and you have episodes where you have, like, outbreaks every year. Or
Yeah.
And I feel like it's contagious, because right now I feel like I need to go,
Yeah. I mean, Jonathan has been trying to leave the band for like 25 years, and they will not let him because it's too...
The hold.
Yes, it's too strong.
I feel like we should have got some New Kids posters and put them in the back right there.
Oh, next time.
Yeah,
I'll
next
go home
time.
and get my sleeping bag.
I love you with the sleeping. I was going to say, I could go to my car. I have those comic books. Tape up this stuff.
In that time frame, my grandmother was fixated on purchasing sheets and comforter sets. Every year for Christmas, I would get a new comforter set, and so it was like geometric purple, and then, you know, like a cutesy one, and then the next year it was New Kids.
Oh.
And so it was the, for those who know, the square, like headshot, bright pink, kind of sketchy faces.
That's very 80s.
And yes, and then the next year, and it came with pillowcases and the whole 9 yards. Then the next year, or maybe 2 years later, I got 90210 sheets and comforter, complete with heart pillows, one of Jason Priestley, one of Luke Perry. And when I think back on that, like, I don't know that you should really, like, hype up a 12-year-old, like, sleeping with all these random men, like,
who are
here
in
you
their
go.
20s, playing teenagers.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's not the look to go for, Grandma. So,
If you ever became, like, a world-famous comedian, would you want to get your own bed sheets? Like the Kate Brindle bed sheets? Or, because that'd be kind of cool.
I don't know if anyone would want them, but yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Just have, like, you know what? Like, that should be a thing. Like, have, like, comedians in the scene, like, instead of doing, like, the normal merch, like mugs or bracelets, do, like, bed sheets.
Or figurines.
Yeah,
like
oh my God,
dolls.
yes.
Yeah.
If you could take...
I want a button that's like this big.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
If you could pick one comedian in the scene right now to get an action figure of, who would it be?
Oh, that is a good question.
And it would have to come with accessories. It would have to come with accessories.
So does this has to be a Michigan person, or no, just anybody?
Yeah. We'll start Michigan. Make it real personal.
I'll give you a second to think because I can see the wheels, and I'll say Jason Jamerson.
Jason Jamerson?
Jason Jamerson, because I'm assuming you're familiar.
Oh
with
yes,
Jason.
very familiar. Yes.
So not only like physique wise, like just its action figure there, but the hair. The hair then leads to more accessories.
Yes.
He could have a gym bag. He could have, microphone. I would believe him as a superhero.
So I've got two that come to mind.
Okay.
One action figure would be Jason File on Mars, because he has so many outfits.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
It would be like the Mr. Potato Head.
yes!
That would be
yeah,
so great.
That is such a great way of putting it. Yes.
You could pop on the glasses,
Yes.
pop off the hat, pop
Yes.
off the hair, put on,
And
that's
then
great.
I would want a Cam Big Fella Roll, like one of those giant stuffed animals that you get at the fair, that's full of those like styrofoam beads that breaks as soon as you get it home and they go everywhere.
Oh, that's so
That'd be
good.
aw- yeah.
That's so good.
That is good.
We are fucking nuts. Yes.
Right.
I would do Keith Lennart as
Yes.
as
Yes.
an action figure, because he's one of my closest friends. I just saw him on Friday, and plus I feel like he would come with a lot of accessories because he loves eBay, and he's always going to garage sales and getting things, so he could always have this rotation of things that he would come with. He's the one who gave me those comic books, actually. That I think he got at the garage sale.
perfect.
Yeah.
That's actually how we met, was because Keith and I were driving out to Chicago for a show.
Okay.
And when I was trying to get some people for the theater show, he's like, hey, why don't you talk to my friend Kate?
Oh, okay.
And I was like,
nice.
oh, all right, yeah, awesome. And I was like, that's a damn good suggestion, Keith, because it worked out fantastic.
Yeah.
so-
Yay, Keith.
Yes, yay, Keith. Keith, you'll be out here at some point soon, I'm sure. And make sure to bring us
With
some
your action
comics.
figure.
Right.
Yes, a
You'll
Keith Leonard.
be on at least for us to get a full body scan.
Yeah.
So we can get the 3D
Yeah.
printing started.
You can actually, you can custom make action figures.
Yeah, and
Yes.
bobbleheads you can do
Yes.
too. Yeah.
Oh, this is going to be so much fun. This is going to be so much fun. Because again, who knows who the hell watches this? I think we should just get one of these made, and then at a show that one of these people are at, give it to a random person in the audience and say, hey, just go give it to Jason or give it to Keith. That would be and film it.
Yes.
To see the reaction.
And then apologize for the PPO that comes with it.
Yes.
Because if I was at a show and someone walked up to me and handed me an action figure of myself, oh my gosh, I would not walk to my car alone.
Right. Oh, yeah.
I would love it.
Apparently I'm a stalker.
That's why I would end up dead, because I'd be like, this is awesome! This is so cool! I'd be showing everybody, and then once again, I'd be in a situation where my skin would be taken, and
I love that it would flip, that the person would be like, oh, I'm going to stalk him, and then Justin would be like, so, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Do you want to go get something to eat? You want to go hang out? I like running. Do you like running? Let's go.
I know a great place for burgers, yeah. So, speaking of weird things, what's one of the weirdest situations you've ever been in before the show? Because I'm sure there's been a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Let's hear it.
I'm trying to think, like, of the weirdest, because there's definitely been a lot of them. There was one show I did at the showcase. I don't know if this is so weird, but it was an open mic at the showcase, right? And like everybody's going up, and this is when I kind of first started, and like just no one is laughing. And it's like funny comics, going up. Nobody's laughing. I go up, nobody's laughing. Finally, someone figured out that it was like an international business group that they had their like company retreat, but like people who had just flown to the U.S. that day and weren't like maybe as proficient in English. Yeah, and so it's like, oh, okay, well, perfect idea. Bring them to a comedy club.
Right.
Like, I had one time there was a bachelorette party and there was this woman. She fell off the chair and it was kind of like high tops and I was like making fun of her because I thought she was drunk. So no, it turns out she had an epileptic seizure and they had to call the ambulance. And then I'm like, well, who's the asshole? Like, I can't handle your booze, But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there's so many weird ones. I feel like
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Did the bachelorette party come after you in any way?
No,
or
I mean,
it was self-reflection that you're like, oh,
yeah. And I even said, I was like, I'm so sorry, like I didn't know, but I think they were just so focused on her and like making sure her health was okay that
100% guarantee that the bride got pissed that happened.
Right.
100%. Because
How dare you wreck my
Yeah,
day.
you wrecked it with your damn seizure. Right. She's probably still on the ground twitching and she's getting, screamed at. So.
Right.
So, pro tip, Nick Pizzuti, don't ever say yes to becoming a bridesmaid.
That's right.
Nick Pizzuti is epileptic, so.
Yes.
But Nick, we love you, pal.
Yes.
Yeah, we love you, pal. Well, that is just, because you can't predict that.
Right.
You can't predict that that's going to happen, but that's part of, seeing so many different audiences over the years, and it's part of the joy of being a comedian.
Right.
Now, in school, growing up, were you a class clown at all? Like, is this something that you kind of, foresaw in the future when you were younger?
No.
Really?
Not at all. No, I can be pretty shy, actually. And so
Really?
I think I more kind of liked, the writing aspect of it. But, no. How about you guys? Were you kind of class clowns? Or?
A little bit. There were people that were, better class clowns than me. I was more the second banana.
Okay.
I had my moments where everyone's like, oh, he's so funny. And then I had my moments where it's like, no, I don't want to come hang out with you, you fucking weirdo. So, it's, it was some of the time. What about you?
Yeah.
I was very much the chatty one. So
okay.
sometimes I would be funny, but I was just very, every single report card comments was like, well, Elena does like to talk. And, I was very much, stories with my grandmother were always like, hi, I'm Elena, look at me, hi. And it's the being funny on purpose that's been hardest for me in this.
Yeah. Funny thing is, the funniest person I've ever met in my life has not done stand-up comedy, and I've tried to get him to do it for so long, and he won't do it, and I'm like, dude, he's so goddamn funny, because in, drama class, or just in class, period, he was so goddamn funny, but he's like, no, I don't want to do it. And I'm like, the world needs you. With great power comes great responsibility. Eric Snyder, I know, again, you're not watching, but still, one day.
It is such a, I love hearing stories about that with people, because it's not always a direct correlation. Because there are, we talked about when you mentioned the callback earlier, that callbacks are a very strong tool, and when you have a relationship with someone in real life, and they have the benefit of 30 years of potential callbacks, everything they say is going to be so much funnier than purposefully crafted joke in front of a room full of strangers. And it's hard to sometimes see that. And since you were shy growing up, was it a shock to your friends and family when you started doing this?
I think a little bit. I mean, I went to college for theater because I started kind of realizing that was like a way I could express myself. But I still remember, this was when I was living at my parents' house, and like, I don't know if I didn't have a cell phone or what, but I gave out their landline. And I still remember there was this guy who booked one-nighters, and I was like trying to get in. And so he called, and my mom picked up, and I guess he explained who he was or something. And she was like, yeah, that's so funny because, you know, Kate was never funny. I was like, Mom, what are you doing? like, so, yeah. So I think in a way they kind of were, you know, or I think like sometimes kind of outside of comedy I can be serious, you know. So I think sometimes when people find out who know me in other contexts, they're like, oh, that's, you know, or kind of surprising, you know. But
that could be a great merch T-shirt. Kate was never funny.
Yeah.
Did your mom wear it to your show?
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Which isn't true, by the way.
Oh, well, thanks.
It's still quite funny just to think about.
I know, and I tease my mom about that. She's like, that's not what I was trying to say, but yeah, I know.
So when you're talking about these other aspects, you know, because it really is, there is comedy Kate, but then there's also, you know, mom Kate, and, you know, day-to-day Kate, and, you know, family Kate, and have you had any instances where, say, you know, someone who knows you in an entirely different world walks by, sees your name on a marquee, and goes to the show, and you didn't know about it until after, and you blow their mind?
Yeah, well, I don't know if I blew their mind, but yes, that other part, yeah. Yeah, I had actually, it happened not too long ago. An old coworker of mine who I haven't seen in like 10 years saw my name and came to the show. And I think he knew I did stand-up, but maybe, I don't know, maybe he thought I just tried open mic or something. Right. I mean, he was very nice about it. I mean, thankfully, I like had a pretty decent set. You know, I feel like, I don't know if you guys feel like this, but I swear it's like clockwork. When people who I know come out to shows, it's like I have the worst shows, you know, always.
Yes.
And so... Thankfully, this wasn't one of them, but yeah, I like when they tell me like after the show, you know, and then they come up. Otherwise, I just get so nervous and I like fixate on them and like, what are they gonna think? And,
I have stopped bringing dates to shows because it never goes well, and that's always the last date. And I'm like, I swear to God, I'm kind of funny, and
right?
It's like, oh, you did a good job putting this together, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll see you sometime down the road, I guess. But yeah, it's like it always just, it's like you said, it's like clockwork. It never goes well, you know. Now, luckily, my friends and family have seen me before do well, and then also they've seen me bomb. So at this point, though, they're like, who the fuck cares? Yeah. You know, they're not, they don't care one way or the other. So speaking of bombing, when is the last time that you just had like a really rough set, like one that you would just want to forget about, but I'm making you bring it up here again?
Just last weekend?
You mean like Friday when I got the New Kids comics?
Yeah.
It kind of was. But, yeah, no, I mean, I still think it happens, you know, all the time. Like, I think I had this idea in my head that, like, oh, it won't happen anymore once you get to a certain level. And I don't think that that's, like, true. Like, I mean, there's people who, like, comics I love who are, you know, that I think, oh, they never bomb. And then you ask them, they're like, oh, yeah, you know, we still do. Yeah, I mean, I generally don't do well at, like, luncheon-y sort of things, you know? Like, I did this one, it was, like, this luncheon for, like, these older ladies. And I just knew, like, this, I mean, I was like, this is not going to go well, you know? And so now I feel like I'm a little more limited, like, you know, if somebody's like, oh, will you do a prom show? Whereas before I wanted to get on stage no matter what. I was like, yeah. And now I'm like, no. Like, it's just not going to go well, you know? So,
I was listening to an interview with Margaret Cho, and when you think about it, a level of comedian, like she's definitely at that level, and she was talking about bombing, and I'm gonna mess up exactly how she phrased it, but she said it so nice that the premise was, if you're not bombing, you're not growing, and that there is no excitement in being able to perfectly do an hour of material forever.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, yes, you can build an hour and know that it's going to kill every single time, and you can become a robot and memorize that exactly down to your mannerisms and your timing and all of that. But that means you're not writing anything new, you're not growing, you're not changing, and I was like, that's a really good point.
Yeah, it keeps you on your toes for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you keep doing well over and over and over again, you're going to get stale. And you're going to fall into, like you said, a very robotic way of doing it. But then when you bomb, it really kind of brings you back to reality. Like, oh my God, I need to start writing more.
Yep.
I need to start kind of fine-tuning my, my regular material to make it better so that doesn't happen again. And like you said, it's exciting and it's challenging. And speaking of like the writing process and fine-tuning, what is your writing process, Kate? If you
I
have
don't know
one.
if I have one. I mean, it's funny. I have in my phone, in my little notes, it's like, I have this schedule, like wake up at 5 a.m, run, write comedy, and then it's like, I roll out of bed at 7:30. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta get my daughter to school. so, I mean, there are times I definitely sit down, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna think about this, I'm gonna write. But I don't know that I really have like a regular writing schedule, like sometimes it is just kind of like I notice in the car a lot of funny stuff kind of comes, and I think it's because I'm like really present, and there's not a lot of noise and distraction, but I mean, I'm still trying to get to that point where I'm like, I'm writing every day and it's from this time to this time. I don't know. I mean, hats off to people who do that. I just am not good at it.
When you have those moments in the car, are you okay, I'm going to hit my voice memo and I'm going to say it out loud and I'm going to record this? Or are you okay, I'm just going to repeat it to myself, and then as soon as I get a place where I can write it down, I'm going to write it down? Like, where do you fall?
I like the voice memo. I don't know about you both, but like I do, because I feel like sometimes, I mean, sometimes I'll try to write it, like if I'm at a stoplight or, but yeah, I feel like I forget it so quickly. So
that's exactly why I asked, because I don't trust people that are like, oh no, I just say it to myself and then I write it down 20 minutes later. I'm like, no, I forget it in 3 seconds.
Right. Yeah, I'm the same way.
Yeah, I've tried before to do a voice memo, but sometimes I can't even understand myself. And I'm like, so then like I got like a friend or family, I'm like, you guys hear me talk all the time. What the fuck am I saying right here? And they're like, dude, we don't know. It's just, So yes, like I usually get like my notepad in my phone and like I type it out.
Oh, okay.
And, again, like I have to be inspired. Like if I sit down with a pad of paper and a pencil, I usually end up like just doodling. And I'm not a very good artist, so it's like I wasted my time.
Yeah.
It's just a complete waste of time for me. But again, like it's everybody has a different writing process, and like you, it's very hard to just like sit down and write anything out because I won't get anywhere.
Right.
I have yet to do this, so I'm not coming at it from a place of success, but a place of interest, I will say. It's on my to-do list. Are you familiar with Jackie Cation and Laurie Kilmartin?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So they were talking about writing process, and Jackie is very much a comic who pulls from personal stories. And what she was mentioning that she does is she sets time frames in her life. And so she will say, okay, from 6 to 10, the years of when I was 6 years old to 10 years old. And then she will write everything that she can remember, little anecdotes and stories that happened in that time, to just focus her brain on like, okay, I was 7, I was into this, I was going to my aunt's house, I was doing this, I was doing that, and using those triggers to then see if anything comes, but she's focusing on writing from that time instead of focusing on writing for funny.
I really like that.
And then go back and then make it funny.
That is a very good.
I was like,
that's
I
interesting.
really like that approach.
That is a very good approach.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Listen to the Jackie and Laurie podcast, because then I won't feel as bad about stealing it. Okay.
And you guys can come on a podcast, this one, if you'd like to. And if you don't want to, we totally understand.
Yeah, we'll see you in Traverse City, Jackie.
Yeah. So, another thing I wanted to ask you is going back to speaking about Michigan comedians. Well, first I'll ask you, which Michigan-based comedian do you want to work with who you haven't worked with yet? And then who is your dream comedian to work with overall?
Oh, those are good questions. Can I answer the second question
Yes.
first?
Yes,
okay.
you may. Yes, you may.
So, Well, I almost like hesitate to say it because so my favorite comic growing up was Ellen, like hands down, you know, and I know there's been some controversial things about her recently, but like I loved her stand up in the 80s, and I went to go see her like 20 years ago at the Michigan Theater, and she's the only comic that I've ever seen. She did an encore, and she was like, hey, just yell out my bits that you want to hear, right? Like a music artist is like, what do you want to hear? And people would, and she would do these bits that you've heard a million times, and it was like she was telling them for the first time. Like, I was laughing like that. So I would love to work with her. I mean, I would and I wouldn't.
Well, 80s Ellen, a time machine. A lot of people in the 80s weren't bad people yet. There were several, so we will not need to name them because I'm sure you could figure them out. Famous sitcom dads, famous pop artists, and now famous talk show hosts. So the 80s were a better time. New Kids on the Block were in the 80s. That's why.
Can I change my answer? Can I open for them? No.
Oh, yes.
No, but I think, yeah, I would love to open, but I also like, but then it's like, you know, sometimes I think like meeting your heroes, right? You're like, I don't know if I actually want to. In terms of Michigan comics, I try to think because, you know, I feel like so proud to be part of the scene, right? Because we have so many funny, like, amazing comics. I mean, the good thing is I feel like I've worked with so many of them, and so to like name one person who I'd be like, wow, I'd love to work with that, I feel like I probably have, you know, and that I've had like good fortune and that I'd like to.
And then they're like, oh, really, Kate? We did that show 2 years ago. Glad I made such an impression on you.
I know. So I don't know if there's like one person I can narrow it down. I mean, I'm sure it would probably be like a newer comic, you know, who I've like, you know, maybe been hearing their names, but haven't had a chance to work with yet. So.
But again, that's a testament to how hard you work and how much you work because you've already worked with so many, you know, with so many great comedians out there. Have you two worked together before?
Yes.
Oh yeah. The bar thing.
Yes.
Wow, my memory's getting bad.
The bar in Owasso, and then what was that, 2 months ago?
Yeah, the Agitated Grape.
Yep,
we did.
Yes. Fun room, by the way.
Yes, it is a fun room, and it's nice. So this is a newer thing that's been happening, but T-Barb and Chrissy Kinney and Ann Duke have really kind of led a charge to unite female comedians across the state. So, you know, Grand Rapids, Detroit, Owasso, and everywhere in between. And we've started this little underground chat, and it's been really nice. You know, we've done some brunches and there have been some get-togethers or whatever, but it's really nice too from a networking perspective, because I do think there's a lot to be said, and I feel like I'm stealing a little bit, and we're gonna tangent, but I promise we'll come back.
Oh no, it's fine.
But there's a lot to be said at the start about the gimmicky side and the shock about female comedians, but I think we're at a point where people are leaning into that a little bit more. And they're focusing on female-led shows and female-run shows and you know, female showcase shows. It's still a little kind of gimmicky, like, oh, laughing with the ladies and you know, but I don't know that I felt that was there a decade ago. And I don't know when you were starting off, kind of who else was in that, and if that camaraderie was there and I just wasn't aware of it, or if this is kind of a new era. How does it feel to you?
Well, I think, first of all, I think it's amazing what they're doing, you know, and I get so excited whenever I get a message, you know, pop up on the thread, and I haven't been to one of the brunches yet, but it's only been because I haven't been in town, and I really want to. I feel like, you know, I was just thinking about this actually recently. I feel like it was happening more informally, like it was, so I started doing comedy 20 years ago, and there were very few women, at least that I was aware of in Michigan. So there was Connie Ettinger, Chrissy Burns, who's unfortunately since passed away, Simply Chanel, Marianne DeMoss. But there were, these are just women I would run into, but there were not many. And so thankfully, they were all so kind to me and kind of took me under their wing very much because, yeah, there would be open mics. You're the only woman. And that was like not uncommon. And then I was thinking to myself, I did the Supernatural brewery show like this month, and there were more women than men on the show. And I remember thinking like, wow, this is the first time I think that I recall this happening, And so I think it's awesome that more women are doing stand-up. I think it's great that we're having kind of these like more formal groups and like networking, whereas before I feel like we were all kind of rooting for each other, but it was such a tiny little group that it was like, if you wanted to do, like you say, this special show is Laughing with the Ladies, it was like the same few folks. Like, if they weren't available, well,
Sorry, we're going to have to push it back a week. Yeah.
Right. And I'm sure there were more. And if I'm leaving out people, I apologize, but I'm just remembering, those women who kind of really helped me out. Yeah. Right. So I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marianne DeMoss and Connie Ettinger are hilarious, by the way. If you have not seen them, they are absolutely hilarious. And by the way, Marianne, hi. We haven't spoken in a while.
Hi, Marianne.
Yeah, you're probably not watching this, but you know what? I'm going to text Marianne. Hey, Marianne, what's going on?
Let's do it right now.
Yes. You know what?
Marianne.
No, you know what? I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to live text Marianne DeMoss and see if she responds to me. This is going to be weird.
You should. I
going to
talked
be
to her
great.
in several
New
years.
phone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Get ready.
Marianne
Get ready for
DeMoss.
that.
Hey! We are
Stirring television.
talking about you on the podcast.
In real time.
Yeah,
Like right now.
In real
It's
time.
funny because one of the things this came up not too long ago. One of the things that gets mentioned when the talk of
We'll see if she responds.
women aren't funny or you can't have more than one woman on a lineup because they'll sync up or whatever. But
Sync up.
whatever the fear is. But it tends to come back to topics. So if somebody is really trying to stand firm on their stance as to why they don't, it's like, well, they're just going to talk about their periods or talk about being a mom or talk about and the fact that does not get brought up on the other side of the fence, like, oh, they're going to talk about their wives are difficult and they like to drink beer.
Dick jokes.
Dick jokes, or, the younger set's like, oh, Tinder and weed and whatever. Like, there are only so many premises.
Right.
And I think it's also something that I've noticed, maybe I've been a little more in tune, that it feels like there are more women coming out to comedy shows now too. And so it is just a matter of give the people what they want.
Right.
Like you as an audience member, I don't want to watch an hour and a half of my wife nags me and my dick doesn't work jokes. Like, I want to be able to connect.
Well, damn it!
Right.
Like, I only want an hour of that.
Yeah.
Right,
An hour and a half.
exactly. 75 minutes tops. But when you are on those lineups, I want to ask this in a way that isn't leading, but have you ever run into that personally where you feel like, okay, there's a little extra weight on my shoulder, I don't want to be the girl, or I don't want to kind of fall into that stereotypical trap? Or do you think that you're at a place now where you can, no, this is my stuff, this is my life, I'm good?
Yeah, I mean, I think like, early on, I was like really conscious of that. Like, oh, I don't want, that there's this stereotype that, women only talk about going to the gynecologist and da. So I was like, okay, I'm going to stay away from all those topics. And I'm just going to talk about things that are completely universal, you know? And then somehow, I don't know, I kind of got away from that a little bit. I think part of it, like, I love Roger Feeney from the Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase, and that's where I started And I remember I told him, you know, I was like, you know, Roger, like, you have such a more, like, I mean, this was like 15, 20 years ago. Like, you have such a more diverse lineup than, like, you know, a lot of clubs. And he was like, well, that's because my comics have to reflect my audience. Like you were saying, like, no one wants to hear the same perspective. Like, you've got to have multiple perspectives, you know? Right. And I think that, and whether that's age or race or gender, whatever it is, you know? And I think when I started thinking about that, it's like, no, I just kind of want to talk about what I'm passionate about or what I know, you know? Right. And so, yeah.
Yeah, and it always feels more genuine than too. If you as a comic, if you're talking from a place that you feel in your gut, it's more believable.
Right.
And I know that part of that is now a lot more mom stuff, because that's the world that we're living in.
Yeah. Well, that's why, like, when I saw you for the first time, I loved your act so much, because the whole time I'm watching you, I'm like, this is my life. Like, she is telling me my life, because, like, our kids are really similar age, and, you know, and I thought that was awesome, because it was like, wow, this is, like, you know, so it's clearly not just mine, you know, obviously it's yours too, but, like, so many other people in the audience, and it's, like, being reflected back in this funny way, and, yeah, I thought that was like, I still remember your set, like at that bar in Owasso.
She's glowing right now.
Yeah. I'm actually. I wish that I could talk to her afterwards and ask her how much she does remember it, because I've lost all of my recordings from then, and I wasn't a writer. So fun fact: if you are going to back things up to the cloud, make sure that it is actually being backed up to the cloud, so that way when your toddler throws your phone into the toilet, 2 years of stand-up recordings.
Literally down the drain.
Literally down the drain.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. And then it was like perfect timing, because it was just at the beginning of the pandemic. So at first I was like, okay, well, that's over. Like, I've done these enough. I can kind of get there and it'll be fine. And then I just didn't do stand-up for 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, okay, I know I had something about me being annoyed with my kid. Got it. Yeah. So, but no, it is, as you're kind of going into more of this mom place, I don't want to sound so hacky with my question. Like, but it is kind of a hacky question. Like, has comedy become more of an escape for you, or has it just always been and it still is?
Yeah, well, I think it always kind of has been, you know, my real job.
Finger quotes.
Right. You know, I work at the Humane Society, so, like, I'm, you know, like, confronted with, like, animal cruelty and stuff. Ooh, you know, I'm not gonna be a downer, you know, but so I feel like and that's always kind of been the field that I've been in, and so I feel like I always needed that as an escape. You know, I mean, now it's more of an escape of, like, oh, I get to be with adults, like, you know, and that's nice. But yeah, I don't know about, like, how about you two? Like, has it been kind of like an escape for you too in that same way? Or?
I mean, for me, I wouldn't say it's an escape, but just, like, it's more of a hobby. Like, it's something that I just, like, I really enjoy doing. Like, I really enjoy performing. Producing is what I absolutely love to do, and, like, it always gives me something to look forward to. And honestly, like, if you don't have anything to look forward to in life, then you're not really living life. So, you know, running 2 shows a month, possibly 3 coming up, it's gonna be great, because, again, like, it's a hobby of mine that gives me purpose. You know. What about you?
Yeah, mine was definitely more escape, because it was. I started when my son was 10 months old. And then I just, you know, had some personal relationshipy stuff. So it was like okay, everything's on fire. So I'm going to go over here and it'll be fine for the next 5 minutes, and then I'll go back and everything's on fire again.
Yeah.
It's like that meme with the dog sitting there. Everything is fine. And just
It's fine. It's fun.
But I do think there's something too. I feel that same way. You know, I do think that there's something to like being on stage that you're really present. You know, like I notice that when I'm on stage or when I'm watching people really engaged. It's like, yeah, I'm not thinking about all my problems or the problems of the world, and it's like I'm just really focused, which I think is a nice benefit of stand up too.
I know from stalking your social media that
Stalker!
That
I
another
might have one person looking at it.
It's like just my family and you.
that another escape is traveling.
Yeah.
And I know that you are also traveling a lot for comedy. So when you get a chance to go be Kate and go to luxurious, gorgeous locations, are you able to kind of switch that off, or is it like you're in the airport and you're like, fuck,
Thinking about a million things sometimes. Because I mean, so like, but I just have to say, like, budget travel is like my addiction. Like,
Really?
yes, like if anyone, I'll put it out there, if anyone ever wants budget, like cheap travel tips, I'm all about it. But yeah, I mean, I tried to, like, this most recent trip I took, because what I used to do sometimes before too is, because I work remotely, so like I'd be like working, while I was on vacation and stuff, and so the last trip I took, like I pretty much like was like, I'm not gonna check my cell phone, like I'm not gonna check email, I'm not, for anything, not just like work stuff, but like comedy, like people stuff. And it was like the first time that I was like, no, I'm very present, and not thinking about what's the next thing. So
that's really, really great.
Yeah.
Where do you want, like, what is your number one travel location on your bucket list?
Oh, that is hard to narrow down, but I'd love to go to Egypt.
Egypt. My dad and stepmom have been there a few times. All they do is travel. They travel like 6 months out of the year.
Wow.
So yeah, if you ever need some travel tips, they have a trip planned coming up in I think in January. They actually had to cancel 3 trips because my dad woke up one day with a detached retina, and so they had to cancel 3 trips. And that was a 6-week period, so yeah, they travel all over.
Oh, that is a lot.
Yeah, it's like every time I talk to him, he's like, "Yeah, I'll be gone for a month. Peace out, son." I'm like, "Take me with you!"
Right.
For crying out loud. But travel would be. I want to do that more, so I will probably pick your brain as well, because my dad's not very good at. He's like, "Yeah, Sandy takes care of all that." Now.
Where did you just go? I remember seeing gorgeous water.
We went to, so this had been on, speaking of bucket list, so I wanted to go to French Polynesia, like Tahiti, that whole thing, like, it's been on my bucket list for a long time, and so then we kind of decided, like, let's do it, and so we actually...
Did you get a hut over the water?
We did for one night.
Okay.
Because they're, like, really pricey, but we're like, okay, we're here, we gotta splurge, one night, and so, so our kid came with it, so like Della came, that's my daughter's name, and so she goes along on all these trips too.
Lucky kid.
So,
oh my
gosh. Yeah, so because otherwise I'm like, well, I don't, gotta bring her with us.
Yeah.
She'll just be holding down the floor, by herself. So I mean, before she'll be in kindergarten next year, and so we're like, okay, before she goes to kindergarten, we gotta do these trips, and then before she was 2, because she could fly for free, on her laps, we're like, let's go on all these trips before she's 2. We can fly with her.
When I was in kindergarten, we went to Arkansas, and I was
not bragging. No,
I wasn't allowed to go play at the park because they had Razorback hogs.
Oh, wow.
That was my trip as a kindergartner, was Arkansas. Thanks, Mom and Dad. And all my relatives down there.
Right.
Yeah. So,
I love that
awesome.
she's going to have these photos of just amazing travel, and she's going to be like, great, I was a year old. I don't remember.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Right? I know. Well, that's what sometimes I think about that too. But honestly, like when she was younger, I mean, we would just go and then we'd like put her in the stroller with like a bottle. We'd be like, okay, let's go. Let's hope she takes a nap. We can go, sightsee and stuff.
Exactly.
But because for a while I was like, I'm not going to travel. Like when I first got pregnant with her, I was like, I took a big trip. Like when I was pregnant, because I was like, I don't think I'm going to travel for a while. And then I was just kind of like, yeah, but life is short,
Live life to the fullest.
Yeah.
Just go places.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So,
That's one thing I'm excited about because spoiler alert, after this episode, I may not be present for the next 2 because I'm going to Tennessee for a while for work, but I'm going to, I almost just said I'm going to smoke the hikies. I am so glad I caught myself. I am going to hike the Smoky Mountains while I'm down there. I am super excited about that. Yes, I love to go hiking, and I want to go up the mountains. I mean, it'll be in the winter time, but I don't care.
But it's maybe a little. Well, would it be colder? I don't know if it's the mountains.
Yes and no. Like, I just don't want to go up there and get caught in a snowstorm because then you have to find a permanent co-host replacement. But yeah, you can, like you said, you've got to live life to the fullest. You've got to travel, and because I mean, look, COVID happened a few years ago when nobody saw that coming,
right?
And everything just stopped. So you might want to live life to the fullest, or else you could very well miss it. So,
yeah,
that's your new motivational merch. Smoke the hikies.
Smoke the hikies, baby.
I buy it. I buy a t-shirt.
Yeah.
That says
I mean, part of me wishes I would have said that, but I was like, brain going faster than the mouth again, or the mouth going faster. See, I can't even. Yeah, there we go. Slow down.
Smooth.
Yeah, I'm about as smooth as sandpaper. Well, do you have anything else that you want to say or talk about, Kate? Any upcoming shows in the next few months that you really want to plug? Any websites or social media platforms?
Yeah, well, if people want, they can check out katebrindle.com.
KateBrindle.com.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very
and
cool.
I've got Facebook, Instagram, all the links are on there. And I do like to post a lot of travel pictures, so if people are into that
Jealous.
sort of thing, they can take a look. And
Stay tuned for brindlebudgettravel.com.
That's
Yes.
right. Seriously,
Yeah.
it is like an addiction. So people gamble. I manipulate things for getting flights.
You're like a couponer, but for travel.
Yes. Oh, yeah, for sure. And let's see. In February, I've going to be in Pennsylvania. Not in case anyone in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania? Aren't you from Pennsylvania, Daryl?
I'm from Pennsylvania.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
What part?
Erie.
Oh, okay. I'm going to be on the eastern part, but
Soda. Just remember it's soda.
Soda. Okay, all right, I will. Yes. And then I'm going to be at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle on the first week of February.
Oh,
Very, very
nice.
cool.
Who were you there with?
I don't remember.
Okay,
offhand.
you're the best.
Someone very funny. Someone very funny.
Very, very funny.
That happens so often on this podcast. People forget who they're opening for. Pedic?
We edited that out.
Oh, shit. Well, sorry. That was a good moment, though. We'll talk about that after the cameras are off. Yes. Yes. But what about you, Elena? Any shows coming up that you want to talk about in the coming months?
Let's see. February, gonna be up in Traverse City for the Traverse City Comedy Festival
cool.
the first week of February, and then really something I'm super duper excited about. I don't know if we've talked about it much here, but if I could close my eyes right now and snap my fingers and have any job in the world, it would be to be a game show host. Mm-hmm. And I've been a game show adjacent and dreamed of producing a game show. And thanks to the loving arms of the one Miguel Verde, Mike Green out at One Night Stands, we are doing retro game night at One Night Stands. Our first one is February 16th.
Very cool.
So you can come out and you can see, we're doing a take on the 70s show Tattletales. Mm-hmm. Jason Filan Mars and Amanda will be the blue team. The Gillerans will be the red team, and then Stan, the man that puts the Stan in One Night Stands, Stan and Vicky will be the green team. So come on out.
So it is a comedy power couple battle to the death.
Yes.
Yes, there can be only one.
In 70s gear, yes.
I love it.
And Mike and I will be running that, and then hopefully there will be more in the future. But,
That will be
That
very,
is so cool.
very cool.
Yeah.
So, I've got some shows coming up. My next show will be January 14th at Bearded Lamb Brewing Company. Cam Big Fella Rowe will be the headliner, and I don't remember who the feature is. You wanna...
The only reason I didn't talk about this, I thought this was airing at the end of January.
I mean, you could miss it, but I still gotta say yes. Kate Brindle will be there, but I have mentioned that on previous ones as well.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Then after that, February 11th, again, back at Bearded Lamb Brewing Company. Mary Spencer is going to be the guest host with Ella Horwedel as the feature and Carl Johnson as the headliner. I'll still be there working the door. February 4th, I have not yet booked the comedians for that one yet, and thankfully this will be airing about a month away, so people will not stop bothering me about it, but there will be a show at the Rusted Crow. Again, I don't have an Instagram because I'm a curmudgeon-y old man, but I do have a Facebook. But please, like us on YouTube, subscribe to us. I want to get 15 subscribers before the end of 2023. We need 3 more, so please subscribe. But again, this has been a wonderful interview, Kate. Thank you so much. With that being said, thanks for watching. Good evening.
The time was now.